Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
You know, there's something I was going to talk to you about. Crap, I forgot what it was.
Uh-oh.
New Mission Impossible trailer. That looked pretty good.
That was really cool. Super
Dang.
excited. Super stoked for that.
I don't like the title. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah.
It sounds like a video game. Like,
yeah.
1, Dead Reckoning, okay, fine. You know, whatever. But, so what's the second one going to be called? Dead Reckoning Part 2? Is that going to be our last Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie?
Yeah, probably.
You know? Dead Reckoning Part 2. I'm like,
Yeah.
Just leave the parts out of it. Like, we're living in a world now where we don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
People know. They're like, well, if you want to get the next one, you're going to have to watch the one before.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's because they're really making this like this is part 1 of the story that they're telling, you know, not like how Rogue Nation and Fallout are like, yeah, technically like all the movies are connected, but
yeah,
you know, it's like there's like a loose storyline through them, and then what I feel like is happening right here is that they're directly connected to each other. So
yeah, I mean, it's straight up going to be a cliffhanger. So that's what they're prepping us for. I'm like, all right, could have still had a cooler name. I think Dead Reckoning is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's what I would want to call my final chapter, you know, of a franchise, especially if it's Dead Reckoning Part 2. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Maybe you'll change your tune once the movies come out.
I guess. I mean, because if you look at like Infinity War and Endgame, 2 different titles.
Mm-hmm.
They're amazing, and I mean, granted, they are technically like 2 different chapters, but I don't know. It just feels lazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I can see that.
I don't know. Yeah, kind of like Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves sounds like a video game.
Yeah.
Downton Abbey: A New Era actually just sounds like a tagline.
Yeah, it does.
You know, they're like, well, can we call it Downton Abbey 2? Because it's technically is a second movie, but it's at the end of this whole series, so I don't know.
Yeah. You just call it Downton Abbey Paris, you know, or Lost in Paris or something. That would have been fine.
Paris Hoedown.
Yeah, Paris Hoedown. I do get really caught up on like titles, you know, because yeah, I don't know. I just feel like why you're gonna put all this money, you're gonna put all this effort into making your movie. And yeah, I agree with you. Like, we're just gonna call it Dead Reckoning Part 2. You know, like, no, like give us something a little bit more, you know? Be creative with you. It's the thing we have with Pilot. You know, the first episode of this show is called Pilot. Yeah. It's like, come on, guys. Even if you named it Genesis, I'll be fine. You know, like just something. That's lazy, but it's something.
Yeah. Like, the only other film franchise that has worse titles would be Fast and Furious.
Oh, I guess so, yeah.
Because they don't even line up with the actual like promos. Because we have the Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and then we get Part 4, which is just Fast and Furious. Then we get 5, which is Fast 5, and then we get Fast 6.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure in the movie it's called Furious 6.
Really?
Because, yeah, the opening title does not match up with all the promos they did. And then, what's 7? Just Fast 7?
Isn't that the one where... Yeah, I think... No, that one was Furious 7. Right?
I gotta look this up now.
I know. Okay. Now, yeah.
Oh, okay. You're right. Okay. So we go to Fast 5, and then Fast and Furious 6. but I'm pretty sure in the titles it said Furious 6 or Fast 6, something like that.
Mm.
But the number 7 was Furious 7. I'm like, what? I don't understand. And then 8 was The Fate of the Furious. At least they tried that. You know,
I don't know. Still
I
would have called
know.
it Fate of the Eight. That would have been great.
Yeah, I know. And then F9.
Come
They're
on,
just like, we're
guys.
dropping fast. And then we have Fast X, which I mean is 10. You know,
It's 10. Yeah, it's 10.
that's 10. Although I do like the one somebody on Twitter posted. It's Fast X, but it's like fasten your seatbelts. They use the
Wow.
X to spell it. Yeah, I'm like, I am all for it.
That's pretty bad, but I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it.
What would we call Lost if we were to give the seasons names?
I don't know.
Because I feel like, I guess I would probably name season 2. I mean, the closest things we have would be the episode names. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, I think it was season 2, right? Where Live Together, Die Alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think there was another one like Man of Science, Man of Faith, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how good those would be, like a billboard.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
But those are kind of like the through lines, though. It really fits those seasons, though. You know.
Yeah.
Lost, live together, die alone. That does feel like a tagline, though.
Yeah, that's a tagline. Now we're getting into some weird, we're getting to some different territory,
Lost 2. I don't know. Furious also. Damn, I gotta think about this.
I don't know, like Others Reckoning or something, like it's
Dead Reckoning.
Dead Reckoning. There you go. Yeah.
The Return of Smokey.
Lost 2, Electric Boogaloo. There you go.
Mikhail hit the Electric Boogaloo yesterday or last week.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not really electric. That's more of
it's like Sonic, but
Sonic.
I'll let it slide. Yeah. Let it electric slide.
Okay, but as for today's episode, we're talking about Lost Season 3, Episode 13, The Man from Tallahassee.
Ooh, I like it.
That could be an interesting, like, movie title.
Yeah, kind of like The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
It's mysterious.
Yeah.
But Season 3, Episode 13, The Man from Tallahassee. While Kate and Saeed try to rescue Jack, Locke attempts to blow up the submarine, while also further falling down the rabbit hole. The rabbit hole being the island. So, okay, like they kind of teased it, but we found out for sure today what Locke's plan was. Like, he's gonna blow up the sub.
Yeah.
That's the plan. We'll get into that, but Locke's really going an interesting direction here. All right, so let's talk about the flashbacks. The past couple of episodes have been really solid. Even if I know you felt like Claire's episode was kind of a one-off, but like there's still important things happening, that furthers the story. But like her episode, Saeed's episode, it kind of just, we didn't need to see those backstories, but it just further built the character.
Right.
This one was something we were looking for a while, as far as like Locke's backstory goes. We got some answers, and it's pretty messed up, man. I thought Christian Shepherd was the worst dad on this show. Nope.
Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, nope. He looks like a saint compared to Anthony Cooper.
Damn. If that even is his real name.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, so essentially, Locke's backstory was, after his father stole the kidney. So I'm trying to get my timeline right. The dad steals the kidney, right? and then Locke leaves and goes live on that commune farm with those people to try and find peace, and then it gets raided and all that stuff. He gets everyone caught. And then after that, we're led to believe that his life just starts spiraling even further. He's having some kind of depression, and that's when this kid shows up saying, "Hey, my mom's marrying this guy who I'm pretty sure is your dad. What's up with that?" And again, nobody talks on the show, so Locke he decides he's going to take care of himself, so he doesn't say anything. And then he confronts Anthony Cooper, and essentially he got the kid killed. Yeah. Cooper kills the kid because Locke is going to out him. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums up the whole flashbacks. It ends when Cooper pushes him out a window and he falls 8 stories to break his back. So what do we think of these flashbacks?
I wasn't so much with it at first, because it just felt like it's just going to be another time where, like, Locke gets taken advantage of, or somebody else gets, one up on Locke. And yeah, essentially that happens, but it's kind of like, this is, I don't know, this is maybe like the last time. And this is where Locke sort of like really starts to shut himself off from everything. And it's like, yeah, like I definitely didn't think it was this. I thought it was going to be in like a car accident or something, like even if like his dad had like engineered the car accident or something, but I was expecting it to be that. I wasn't expecting it to be like, I don't know, it kind of like flashy a little bit,
What do you mean? Like,
well, I mean, like his dad like tackles him and pushes him out of like a window 8 stories up. Like, that was intense. Also, the effects there were really good. Yeah. So yeah, it sucks, it sucks because we've come to see who Locke was, and we're seeing who he is now on the island. And so like, these are sort of the pieces that are falling into place for us. And it's like, man, this sucks. Like this guy just keeps getting taken advantage of by people. And this time he wasn't even, trying to, I don't know, he wasn't trying to get anything out of it. He just wanted to make sure that this guy didn't mess with anybody else's life.
Yeah.
This is where John is trying to be the good Samaritan and say like, no, like you're done. You have to stop this. And yeah, that's it. That was apparently that was a bridge too far for Anthony Cooper. So
Yep. Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So as for On the Island, I hate to say it, but I told you so, Kate. I told you so. Jack said, "Don't come back for him." And she's like, "I thought you didn't mean it."
Oh my God. This is because nobody talks to each other.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, but essentially, everyone's surprised to see that Jack is very kind of buddy-buddy with others. And it really, Locke sums it up best. This just became a lot more complicated.
Very astute observation.
It was pretty interesting. I really like the scene where where Kate sneaks into Jack's house like a snake, and he's playing piano. I thought that was really cool. That was a really cool moment. And she's just like, "What's going on?" And then, of course, Jack says, he's like, "No, you shouldn't be here. I'm being watched." I'm like, "Yeah, no crap, Kate. Come on." Like, it's just so many bad decisions.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, they had been building to this for quite some time. And this is one of those things, I'll mention it later too, but that's one of the things Hitchcock kind of always lean towards. If you're if you say something's going to happen, it has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the payoff. You can't avoid it. So, I think it could have been really weird if they decided to just leave Jack there or not rescue him or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she got captured. Sayid got captured. Locke didn't get captured. I knew it too. I knew it. Because he was giving orders like, Sayid, you go through the front. Kate, you go through the sides. I'll have the back. And you see Sayid and Kate running towards the house, but you don't see Locke. I'm like, what's his game? What's he up to? And I'm like, oh yeah, he goes to Ben. So this whole time, we'll save that for last because that's the good stuff. So Jack and Kate, he basically reveals to Kate that he's getting a ride home, and Kate, I'm coming back for you.
Oh boy.
Which really fits Jack's character because I never thought he would leave the others behind.
Mm-hmm.
The others meaning his friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not going to leave them behind. So I figure like if he does go home, he would do something to try and get them back. Which how smart that is, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then Locke goes and talks to Ben. Talk about some good writing, man.
Mm-hmm.
I love their back and forth the whole time. This is what we've been talking about of how the others are always written very mysteriously. They're never really giving you any info. But Ben was he was giving out some clues. He was giving out some hints here and there. But like it was just a well-written scene. Like you get to see more of him as a person. There, on one hand, it's almost as if there was no facade anymore. But on the other hand, we always know with Ben, there's always some kind of facade.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you actually got to see his curiosity, and he's asking Locke about how it worked. Like he knows he was paralyzed. When did he start walking? All this stuff. You really saw him like trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And Locke's answering, but at the same time, he's figuring it out. He's like, oh, Ben is wondering how come he hasn't healed as fast or why he even got sick in the first place.
Yeah.
All this back and forth. It was a tennis match between these two, a tennis match with words. Like, dude, it was like, this is so good. And it's one of those things where kind of like what we mentioned last time, it's all the context. Because if you just sit down and watch this episode, you're like, okay, you would probably enjoy it. It's a good episode. But having been with these characters for 2.5 years already, we know why they're asking these questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now they finally reach this part as characters and as writers where we don't need to drop a line of exposition in order to ask a question.
Right.
Because the audience already knows what's up. The characters already knows what's up. So that's when writing's the best. That's when it's the best because you already know the context. Like, got it. Yeah, man. It was just I loved it, and I loved how it switches. They're talking about how Locke he's the one walking, and Ben's the one in the wheelchair now.
Mm-hmm.
And Locke, he's going native, man. Like he's revealing to Ben how they're cheating. They're living in houses with electricity and guns and refrigerators. They're cheating, and that's when Ben is all like, "What do you know? You don't know anything." And that's when Locke says the line, because I'm the one walking, you're not. Blah blah blah. But I was kind of. That caught me off guard. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense though for Locke's character. Mm-hmm. Because this whole time, like, okay, why did he sabotage Sayid's radio back in season 1? What else has he done? I feel like he's done several things, to really slow them down. Even quote unquote, we even thought it was an accident that he blew up the MacLeod station.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, no, he knew there was C4.
Yep.
Like, what is his game? And the whole thing is like, yeah, 1, he doesn't want to leave. 2, he's on some kind of like spiritual quest, man. Ben even says it later on. He's like, for some reason, you're in commune with this island.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know. Locke's coming at it from like a purity standpoint, like you need to do it right. You can't be
Yeah.
cheating. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's really falling down the rabbit hole of something he doesn't even know really.
Yeah,
It's all speculation.
That's the thing. Like he's so caught up in that there is something miraculous about this place. There's something else going on, and yet he doesn't know, but he's so convinced that he now has these convictions that like this is how it has to be. I'm making these decisions, and he's not thinking about people. He's not thinking about the survivors or even really the others. He's just trying to get to the heart of the island, and yeah, I just like it's kind of like, towards the end, where Ben is saying that like you kind of did exactly the thing that I needed you to do without you even knowing what you were doing. Locke is just on this not murderous rampage, but he's on this rampage to get answers, to get to this thing, and he doesn't care about anybody else.
Right.
He's gonna leave Kate and Saeed to get captured because they're not important right now. What's important is getting to Ben, is getting to the submarine, and then taking that away from people, and it's like that. Like it's crazy. Like he doesn't even see like so lot. Like it is. It's like it's this tennis match, except that it's like neither one of them really knows what the other has been through, right? And neither one of them have all the answers. But Locke is just like he's serving, he's giving back, and he's just like this is how it's going to be. This is what I'm doing. It's like he's playing great, but he's in like a blind rage, whereas Ben is just like, oh, okay, sure, like let's go with that. Let's lean into this. Let's pivot you towards the thing that I need you to do.
Yeah, and it's not even, well, like rage isn't the right word, because that like everything Locke does is very calculated. It's very much a place of faith. Like John is he's following all the steps, steps that Saeed is just like, that's a coincidence, it was a trick of the light, that kind of thing. John's like, no, like there's something is calling us or calling me, I have to do this. So it's like, it's not like, it's like a blind conviction.
Yeah.
Also just a mystery, because I love how Ben uses the concept of like a mystery box almost. Barry J.J. Abrams, and he says, what if I told you there's a box on this island, and whatever you imagined would be in that box when you opened it? I'm like, interesting. Okay. And then of course Locke replies with the line, You better hope that box is big enough for a new submarine. Which, that was a cool submarine, man. That was a cool set.
Yeah. It's very tight. It's very small. Like, yeah, this is great.
Only for him to blow it up. He succeeds, man, and they blow it up.
A part of like this, I guess I should save this for, I don't know, predictions or whatever, but I don't think that's their only submarine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's pretty brilliant how Ben does it too, because he even brings up the fact, he's like, Jack's gonna get on that boat and leave in an hour. The anomaly knocked out all the transmissions. So once that sub leaves, it can't find its way back. No one will be able to find the island. Ben is saying it like a cautionary tale, but in reality, he's telling Locke, he's just reinforcing Locke's beliefs. He's like, this is what I got to do to keep everyone here. And I'm like, oh, dude. And then Alex, she tells Locke, he's manipulating you. It's what he does to everyone. And Locke's just like, okay, whatever. And he's like, and she says, he makes you think it's your idea. I'm like, that's perfect, man. That's the whole going back to Locke's dad. You know, that's the whole thing. When he even says, he's like, I'm a con man. I know how to do this. And like, yeah, that's kind of how it's done. You know, there has to be. I mean, of course, it depends like what kind of crimes you're talking about, but it's that trick. You know, people need to make the decision for themselves.
Yeah.
So they do that by you manipulating the info around them. That's what Locke's dad did to him, and that's what Ben is doing to Locke. And I was like, damn. Yeah. And then of course, Richard is back. In modern day, not flashback. I was like, okay, that's cool. And he's sent to retrieve the man from Tallahassee, who at the very end, I'm assuming that's what he brings in when they open the door and reveal. Ben tells Locke, "Let me show you what came out of the box." And tied up, it's Locke's dad. They found him. What an episode.
Yeah. See, like, I know that I've been, you know, kind of jokingly on my kick of like, this is just X-Men, you know, but kind of for the most part, this does sort of, at least to me, does feel kind of like the Chris Claremont version of X-Men, you know, back when they did like the first giant sized issue and they introduced all these new people. You got Storm and Wolverine and Colossus, you know, and all these people on the team now. But a big portion of those stories outside of the superheroics, it's soap opera. You know, like it's about these people's lives, and it's this continuing thread of like, we did this thing, and now, you know, we're now that this horrible thing is over, now we're all going to take a break and we're all going to go have some leisure time, you know, and get things done. But behind the scenes, these machinations come in. So on their leisure time, something else happens. You know, that's when they find the Savage Land, and Professor X, you know, thinks that they're all dead again, you know, and all this stuff. And it's like, it's all these little things that are happening. That to me sort of felt like this episode. This episode felt very X-Men in that this is a very character-driven story. This is about a big event. This is the big event that's going to happen. We're telling you from the beginning. John has C4. He's going to blow up the sub. And through the whole episode, we're reinforcing that. And then it happens. And then you get the scene after where it's like, this is why that was bad. And this is how you wrecked everything in favor of one person, the man holding all the strings, the man who, you know, behind the scenes, all this stuff. And yeah, it's about how all these people's lives are now hanging in the balance. You know, it felt so cool. You know, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that this episode was co-written by Drew Goddard.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and I think the story consultant on this was Brian K. Vaughan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Two guys who have definitely written, you know, within the superhero worlds and know the superhero genre. It's like, yeah, like that's, to me, this is them sort of pulling from that tradition, you know, of having these character stories laden into, you know, the super heroics. So yeah, just what an episode.
Yeah, I could definitely see a version of this episode where Jack and Juliet have to talk with Ben about leaving before Locke shows up. Because that seems I feel like that's what a lot of television would do. It's like, okay, all right, is Ben trustworthy? Is he not? I don't know. Well, then Locke shows up and Ben starts manipulating him. But what Lost did great, which is going back to the Hitchcock thing about doing what you say you're going to do. Locke has the talk with Ben first, and then Locke's already taken off. So when Jack and Juliet show up, that whole scene has the hidden context.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the three people in that conversation, Ben knows that submarine is going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just watch the scene, it's about two people saying goodbye. But if you actually watch the whole episode, you know the context. The scene is about Ben manipulating those two people, knowing that they're not leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it was brilliant. That was such a brilliant move. And to me, it goes back to, like I said, Hitchcock and his the talk he gave about the bomb, and how you have a scene of about with a set at a table, and you have these two guys talking about baseball for 5 minutes. Okay, that's your scene. Now do the scene again, but 5 seconds before the scene starts, you reveal to the audience that there's a bomb under that table set to blow. So now that whole 5-minute conversation about baseball becomes not about baseball, but becomes about the bomb going off. And I was like, yes, that is what Lost did with this episode. You know, they're like, you know what's coming. You know something big is coming. We're going to give it to you. So it was all these cool little moments, because I do feel like we've been away from Jack and the others so long. We needed to reconnect with them. We also needed to tie a bow on that chapter. You know, we needed Jack and Kate to meet again and to settle that. Like, Jack's not coming back, okay? You left him behind because he asked for it, okay? Locke, he needs to go blow up the submarine. He's trying to get everyone stuck on this island. Okay, like all these little things needed to happen just to keep the story going. And they did it, but they did it in such like a masterful way. I loved it. And then let's not forget, Russo's watching the whole thing from the tree line, you know?
I love how like she sees Jack playing football and immediately just she's like, I'm out, I'm done, you know, and like takes off, you know, to observe, and like, yeah, and she sees Alex.
Yeah.
And like, it didn't occur to me until like this episode how much that actor looks like Mira Furlan.
Yeah.
You know, like it was never a thing. I was like, oh yeah, like I could see that, you know, like, yeah, I can see how she's her daughter. But it really was, maybe it was the way like they were framed this episode. Because when Alex starts walking where Saeed's being kept, for like a split second, I was like, is that Rousseau? Why is she just walking out? And I was like, oh no, that's Alex. But yeah, there was just something about them that like they look so similar this episode that yeah, and I think that's what really hits when when Rousseau finally sees Alex and knows that like it's all real, you know, like they took my baby. I know that now, and she's alive. It's like it's the proof that like she told Kate that like she didn't want to see it. She didn't want to know. And now I feel like this might be a turning point for Rousseau to be like, maybe there is hope. You know, however small it is, like that hope I think is now burning inside of Rousseau. So yeah.
And Saeed dropped the truth bomb to Alex. Like, you look like your mother. Your mother's dead. I'm sure that's what they told you. So now that's a seed into Alex's head, you know? Man. So, and I mean, I do understand why Kate would think Jack is brainwashed, because they brainwashed Carl.
It's interesting how she never brought that up either.
She never brought that up. She said they got drugged, but she never mentioned that they were trying to brainwash Carl.
Yeah.
Did she even mention Carl? You know, like, who the hell's Carl?
Yeah. She didn't even mention it to Saeed and Locke. Like a pretty, like she mentioned.
She
Carl.
probably did just off camera.
Yeah, but we don't know that.
Yeah, we don't know that, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Pretty solid. It's pretty good. Especially being what, episode 13, so like halfway through the season, even though, you know, we had the split between episodes 6 and 7 for a couple months, this was
Mm-hmm.
still kind of the halfway mark. So you knew something was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not Ethan dying or what happened like in season 2, I guess it kind of all happened at the same time. They were like dealing with Ana Lucia after she killed Shannon,
Mm-hmm.
and it was her dealing with Saeed, and then they mysteriously find Henry Gale out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so like it wasn't like season finale big, but like, you know, things are moving, and I'm curious to see what happens now because everyone is trapped on this island.
Mm-hmm.
All the others, including Anthony Cooper, if that is his name, he's trapped there too now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now this puts us in a very interesting position because, you know, back to Locke and Ben, I very much feel like they're on the same side. They just don't realize it. They're
Yeah.
both trying to discover the mysteries of the island.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not working together yet.
Yet. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens now that they have both Locke and his daddy captured.
Mm-hmm.
So, any other predictions?
I mean, well, yeah, since
Other than a second sub?
yeah, so pretty sure there's a second sub or something like that. Definitely think we're going to see that boat that they hinted at because that was the thing, like at the end of season 2, like they gave Michael like that little dinghy that was never going to get them super far. Like they have another boat out there.
Hmm. Well, like I thought we talked about this though. Doesn't Ben like he gives Michael coordinates? He's like, "Hey, this will get you out away from the island." And I thought they said something to like shipping lanes or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
because I
okay.
mean, there's no
Maybe,
way
yeah.
there's no way to access your boat in a submarine. You know what I mean? Like you need to dock for that, unless they just have another boat.
That's true. That's true. I don't know.
Yeah,
They've got so many boats on this island. You know, the
that's
fact that
true.
they had the fact they had the submarine definitely is surprising.
Yeah,
Now I'm starting to think maybe they do have a second sub. I don't know.
yeah.
You
And I
know.
mean, if what Ben says is correct, which I think it is because it really matches up with his plan, if they do have another boat, it's not there
Mm-hmm.
because that was the whole thing. Like he tricked Locke into trapping everyone on this island,
Mm-hmm.
no access to outside world. So yeah, there is no other way off this island, according to Ben.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like he's telling the truth because he's getting what he wants.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so if there is another boat, it's away. It's out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
MVPs.
So this one's probably going to surprise you
Mm-hmm.
because much love to Terry O'Quinn. I love John Locke. This episode really just like solidifies my love for John Locke. This was something I've been waiting for since he arrived on the scene. This episode finally made me truly love Benjamin Linus.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Because this whole time, you know, that's been my thing. It was like I don't like the others. I don't like the way they're written. Even with Ben, you know, especially while he was like Henry Gale, you know, it was like, oh, like I have to be mysterious and this is my cover and blah 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 and all this. And it's like it got old and it got old real fast. I was done
Mm-hmm.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
Went on for way too long. Season 2 ended and I didn't get any more answers out of that. I'm just like, all right, this is just a guy. This is the leader of the others, apparently, whatever. And then even into the beginning of this season, I'm like, he's just, he's just there. He's just the antagonist, and that's all he ever was to me. But I'm really starting to feel like now, like, no, like this is a complicated person I want to know more about him because he was born on the island, and he mentions that, and he tells that to John
He
specifically.
does.
I was born here. Not many other people here can make that claim, but I can. And it's like that to me kind of says everything I need to know about this guy. He was born on this island, and I feel like because he knows about this island, he knows what this island is in a way. He thinks that makes him special,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that just sort of solidifies everything I need to know about this guy. He's going to do everything that it takes to protect his island.
Yeah. And I like how he reiterates that what Locke said earlier at the end. He's like, I don't know why. The line has something to do, for some reason, I don't know why, you have a commune with this island.
Mm-hmm.
That makes you someone very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do everything I can to help you.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why? He's like, because I'm the one in the wheelchair. You're the one walking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like they both have questions. It's like they both have different pieces of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben, who's been there for decades, his whole life, I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see how, if they start working together, or how he manipulates Locke into working with him. We'll see what it really depends on Ben. Like, what is Ben going to do next? Because this was really like his episode. Like this episode ended with him getting everything he wanted. It's like, okay, now what? Also, now it's going to happen with Jack and Juliet. You know, because the whole thing was like they're out, they were leaving,
and that's what Ben essentially tells Locke at the end. Where it's like, if I just let them go, he's specifically talking about Jack, but it's both of them. It's like, if I just let them go, then that makes me look weak. I kept my promise, but that makes me look weak, and my people realize that. If I just outright kill them, I break my promise, and my people realize that too. So it's like this was his plan from the beginning, and it's going back to that conversation that Jack, Juliet, and Ben were having when they're saying goodbye. Ben knows what's going to happen, and so in that moment, he is realizing that he can use that to his advantage. That I was going to keep my word. I kept my word. You were going to leave. I would let your friends go. Then the sub exploded. That had nothing to do with me. That was John. So I'm still a man of my word.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, this has nothing to do with me. So it's like, it's all going to blow back on Locke, and Ben is essentially, clean hands in this situation. And that's going to be something to contend with in the next few episodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a show.
We'll see what happens. Okay, so you're giving it Michael Emerson. I think we're gonna give Terry O'Quinn. It was great.
Well deserved.
Yeah, but like we're seeing more of Locke as of like his decision making, his mentality. He's such a secretive character, and now we're starting to understand where his head is. Almost in a way, because we talked about like blind conviction. In a way, it is. It's very what's the word I'm looking for? Not cult-like, but radical, something like that. Not the word I was looking for, but we'll go with it. Okay. Because it really is like this take no prisoners kind of belief, like we need to get to the bottom of this. And I don't know. I think it's kind of more of the same of what we've seen from Locke, but now we're actually getting into like, why is he doing this? And we're starting to see things from his perspective. I'm like, okay, this is getting really cool. So it's cool that like Terry O'Quinn could keep bringing more layers to this character, who at times can be a very repetitive character. So I'm going to give him MVP as well. Yeah.
Good choice.
But as for next time, we will not be having a new episode next week as we try and catch up with other stuff and we have other things we're working on. So I'm not going to tease the next episode. We're just going to go in blind. We'll see what happens.
Well, as blind as we can, because I did see what the next episode is about a little bit. So yeah. Thanks, Hulu.
I think it's best if we just go in not knowing what to expect.
Oh boy, yeah.
But before we wrapped it up, I guess I should have said this first because I remember what I was going to say. These last episodes have been really solid. And you know what they all have in common, Sam?
What?
They come after the infamous Jack's Tattoo episodes. So, and we talked about how that was the episode that they took to the executives and said, like, look, this is what happens when we have to go on for 10 seasons. You know? So I think this is kind of the writers taking a breath. They're like, hey, we have all this lore, all this backstory. Let's start putting it out there. Even if it's slowly, let's start putting it out there, you know? So the fact that we met another, we've killed 2 others, and now we've blown up a sub, all this stuff just in the past 3 episodes, like those aren't 3-4 episodes. Those aren't for Lost, the first 2.5 seasons we've watched. Those aren't one-off episodes, you know? We've seen one-off episodes. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. So a lot of ground has actually been covered since Jack's Tattoos. And that's kind of why I think it feels like it's speeding up a bit, because the writers are like, you know what? You know, we can't keep everyone in the dark this long. We have to have some kind of end game. We just can't keep running around with our heads cut off, you know? So I think a lot of that prep and planning and stuff they've had is finally making its way to the screen. And I think that's why these last 4 episodes have been really solid.
I can see that. Yeah.
We'll see if that holds up next time.
We'll find out.
Yeah. But as always, you guys hit us up with some questions at #LostLegacies. I want to know how you thought about these last couple of episodes. Also, shoot us some questions for the next episode so we can talk about it next time.
There you go.
But you can find me at Twitter at _Matt Jimenez and on Instagram at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
Till next time, guys, get lost.